Hi, so I'm here with Josh Dodge, and we're going to try a pawpaw real quick. Well, Josh, you were just telling me about yourself and your situation, which I think is very interesting. So you're growing them up in Belvedere, right?
Yeah, growing them up in near Rockford and Belvedere, Illinois, and got about 20 trees now. I got a bunch of Jordan Peterson varieties. I got some Potomac and Wabash and Susquehanna and Rappahannock, and I got a couple other ones. I got three mango. I got a couple golden Pennsylvania golden, I think they're called, and then a bunch of wild varieties started from seed. I've never tried a pawpaw before.
That's so great that you're all in on them already.
Yeah, I grew a
Um,
bunch and I figured, well, I got to be patient. So I got a couple of trees that are over 6 foot, and they did bloom this spring, but they didn't produce any fruit. The blossoms probably didn't pollinate and they fell off. So I wasn't too hopeful that they would do anything anyways, being how young they are. And I've actually known about pawpaws for like a good 15 years, but just never came across one. And yeah, so
Very cool. So this is unfortunately one of the smaller fruits here, but this is off of a tree that's a tree here in town, and then this is the seedling from that tree. There's two next to each other. I think one just puts out tons of fruit, but they're all pretty dinky. The other one puts out fewer fruit, but they're rather large and tasty. They both taste pretty good, but I think the offspring has turned out to be pretty good because they're just sitting there pollinating one another.
sure.
So I know that that's the parentage, which has been my approach, and then I've done grafting and stuff too. But it's been modestly successful, and that's probably putting it,
Yeah.
maybe exaggerating even.
I have
So
never grafted anything, so you're already a step ahead of me there.
it's just practice, patience, and timing. I think is really, and the fact that you have the grafted trees already, you're going to be impressed with. I think what you have in the coming years here. And you said they're about as tall as you are. Some of them.
Well, some of them are only waist high. I got a couple that are only knee high. So some of them are just 1 year. They put on 1 year of growth after the graft.
Okay.
So
Okay, so all the grafts have survived. That's
Yep,
good.
yep.
And then you know how to look for flower buds for next year, right?
they do look a little different.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I could show you some on my tree. Maybe I'll show
Okay.
the camera too. But
Okay.
if you look for those, then you'll know you're going to have flowers. Have you had flowers yet?
Just a couple flowers.
Okay, so you have had some.
Yep.
Okay.
I saw them and I took a couple of pictures of them, and then a week later they were all gone, and I don't think they're just too young.
Yeah, if you're only getting a few like that, that's not a surprise that you didn't get any fruit yet. So here, why don't we try the small one? I'll try it
Sure.
with you.
Okay.
And so this has been in the competition before and placed third, but on a much better year. I think just the droughty weather and squirrel pressure has been so much because there's like not as many walnuts this year.
Oh yeah.
So the Peterson varieties you'll see are considerably bigger than this and have been engineered for taste and all. So
Well, thanks for sharing.
absolutely, I'm glad to do it. So this one's pretty good and ripe.
Yeah, it
It has
reminds
a
me of some candy, some
Okay.
real sweet candy. Mango for sure.
This one has a certain grassiness to it that other ones don't, which is neither here nor there. But it's very much like banana-y to me, at least in terms of like texture and certain flavors.
Yeah, it has a little bit of that mashed banana texture.
There's a certain starchiness to it too. But
There is, yeah.
they're really not bad. And this has had great years. I don't think this is if they're in severe decline. They're really old trees.
Sure. Yeah, it's common for older trees to not produce much. That's true for oaks and hickories and a lot of others.
I would estimate that these trees are maybe in the neighborhood of 40 years old, which is pretty ancient for pawpaws. So this one's pretty good, and this is my introduction to it. And both the trees are pretty decent flavored. So that's what got me started. I guess that was about the only access to them I had for a while. But they're all over the place if you start looking for them. Have you found any up in Rockford?
No, no, I haven't. The only pawpaws I know of, other than my place, are, well, I got a couple of friends that have some, but out and about, I don't really know of any. I went to college at SIU for a few years, and there's a whole bunch of pawpaw on campus in the Thompson Woods.
Oh, Okay.
So right on campus, as you're walking from one building to another, you'll be walking past pawpaws that are well over 15 feet high, but the fruit gets picked over by people who know about it.
Well,
The
sure.
forestry department is right there too, and those guys are they're going to take them.
Vigilant. Okay. Well, gotcha. Yeah, you really have to know your trees and their timing, I think, to maximize collection.
Especially when people, it's kind of like morel mushrooms. Everybody,
Right.
it's a secret where they're at and what time of year we go.
Sure. Well, that's really interesting to know. And so, that's is that Carbondale?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. I spent 3 years in Carbondale.
You heard it here, folks. So, here. So you can just put that on the plate.
Okay.
And then try another one.
Sure.
All right.
So this is the neighbor, huh?
Yeah.
Right
Well,
next
no.
to
This is one that I sprouted from seed. Excuse me. From those trees. And that. So this is. I think you have. This is PC2, I believe.
Yeah, PC2.
So that's the tree right behind you here.
Cool.
That's this guy.
All right.
Here, I'll turn the camera so we can see which one we're eating here.
And you
This
have
one with all the bags.
bark protection. Is that to keep the bark protected?
Yes, and it's my damn cats. She started
Oh.
using them as a scratching
Oh,
post.
okay.
And it was severely damaged, this one.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so but the tree survives, but you can see like she scratched it up and then it tore
Oh,
away.
yeah.
Now it was mostly just superficial damage to the other trees, but once I saw how bad that one was getting, I decided it was time. So that's that stuff is, I call them the hula skirts, but it's just bamboo sheet from Lowe's.
Yeah.
I tried tree tubes, but they were too like constrictive,
Yeah.
and then when you try to take them off, it just tears the bark because it's so thin.
Yeah, they
and
have
I didn't
thin
like
bark,
that
yeah.
either. Excuse me, I got a skin or something. So that was my solution. I think they'll probably last maybe another year or so before I got to do something else about them. But it's like $25 a sheet, and I was able to do about half my trees with one sheet. So that's not. It was probably more than that actually, but that was my solution. So shall we?
Yeah.
Yeah, this one I think is pretty good.
Okay.
It has bigger fruits. I think the taste is pretty good too.
Yeah. It's delicious.
So the original one I was calling Puddin' Cup because they're so tiny and kind of in its good years reminiscent of a banana pudding. So this is PC2, so I'm trying to think of a good moniker that has those initials that would be a name. If I ever decide that this is worthy of, being a cultivar. Yeah, you can just toss them on the plate there. We're right good with that, yeah.
Other than the cat, have you had any other pest problems?
I've had some breakages for sure. Like,
Caused by heavy fruit or?
well, yeah, that, but I'd say more like either heavy critters or two-legged critters, possibly. Like the one that it was in my front yard, you can see. Here, I'll turn the camera.
Two-legged critters. Humans?
Yeah,
Ah.
exactly. So there's the one out front there that has the barricade around it, the firewood and the cage.
Yeah.
That one is a grafted tree, but it hasn't put out fruit yet, and that's from a Tollgate nursery selection. Unfortunately, I'm not sure which one because my notes are terrible. But it broke above the graft, but something broke it like basically in half, and then it regrew. But since it's not in the fence, I decided to do that because I suspect maybe a deer rub because we do get deer around here.
Sure, yeah.
But it could have been somebody snapping it off, or I really don't know. They're prone to breakages because they're not. They're vigorous, but they're not super
not a
physically
hardwood.
strong.
Yeah.
So, like,
I even heard Peterson say that the wood has been used by Native Americans or by some folks use them as fishing cane, I think.
the bark particularly, they'd strip it and like use it as like a weaving material or netting or whatever.
Yeah.
So I definitely recommend caging them or whatever. Squirrels do, and other critters crawling on them do cause some damage, but it seems mostly superficial. They don't scratch like a cat would,
Yeah.
Oh, my cat. But what can you do? So other than put up bamboo sheeting. So,
Yep.
yeah. What do you get from this one?
This one,
taste-wise?
the texture is a little firmer. That could be because of ripeness or where it's at in terms of maturing, but
Yeah.
I like this one. It is very similar to the other one, but there is a little bit difference. I think it has a little firmer texture.
I think a little less of that grass note.
Yeah, there's a little less of that.
I'm grabbing one too. It has kind of a. They say it can have that kind of kerosene or whatever aftertaste. It has that, but it's almost like a pineapple sort of thing too.
Mm-hmm.
But really not bad at all. And I've had quite a few of them, so they do run the gamut of flavors, the wild ones. So have you seen much in the way of wild ones? Well, obviously there's the SIU campus you were talking
Yeah.
about.
Well, from what I understanding is pawpaws don't grow much further north than Pawpaw, Illinois. Is that right?
Yeah, that's more or less the case. I mean, native, but I think that they
Native, yeah.
like they've got them at the Arboretum in Madison, and I know
Yeah.
people are growing them in the Twin Cities. So I think
Oh yeah, they're
I think
hardy
they
way
can
up
be.
there.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I think the issue there becomes grafting is not as likely to take or
Sure.
survive.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, so I've known about pawpaws for quite a while, ever since I went to Kish back in 2006. And
Oh, interesting. Okay.
yeah, that's when I went there for a couple of years and did landscape horticulture, and I was really into. Well, I'm just a tree nut, so I'm really my favorite's the shagbark hickory, and
That's a nice one.
yeah, they're kind of hard to find. So they're, how rare they are is kind of what makes them special. And then
Interesting. Okay.
yeah, and then of course I'm partial to oaks, but when it comes to fruit trees, the pawpaw has been this is the one that made me go crazy. And I hadn't even tried one until today.
Right. Well, that was sort of my case too, because like I started reading about them online. It's just like this is so weird.
So,
Where are they? What is this thing?
a lot of folks go crazy over them. It's kind of like a little. It's like morel mushrooms in a way. You know.
Yeah, I
just
think so.
How elusive they are, and but Stark Brothers has jacked up their prices on pawpaw trees now, and
I think demand is way high.
it's getting out. It's getting the word's getting out.
I know grafted trees are pretty hard to find these days.
Yeah.
With any reliability, anyway.
I actually ordered all my grafted ones from a nursery in Michigan, Nash Nursery,
Okay.
and they specialize in fruit trees, and their pawpaw list wasn't even posted. If you clicked on it, it went to a dead link. I called them, and the lady says the demand for pawpaw trees is so high, I can't keep that document live. She says, you got to call me, I'll send you the list. So she sent me a list that they had like 20 different varieties, and it was $40 a tree plus $10 shipping. So I per tree. So I paid about $50 a tree. When they arrived, they were about knee high, and I was like, dang, this is expensive. And I bought 8 to start off with, and then I found some more on another website, and then I bought a bunch of whips, bare root stock. I planted about 12 of those throughout my woods, because my place backs up to the forest, so I planted a bunch right along the edge there, and those ones are already 3 foot, so they're putting on some growth. So just gotta be patient.
I think that's where they kind of like it too, is that forest line. I think it kind of they have that some sun exposure, some sun protection. They're probably a little more protected from huge swings in temperature as well, frost, super heat.
Yeah,
They can wilt
they do benefit from some protection in the first 2 years.
for sure.
I'd like to take a picture
I agree.
here, just kind of show it to my buddy.
Oh, for sure.
I have seen this. I've seen someone use nylons.
Yep.
I think Neil featured that
Yeah.
in one of his talks. Which, if you got a squirrel, or what raccoons like to get them, is that?
Squirrels have been testing mine really regularly since they appeared. Because this tree overhead is a black walnut, and you'll notice that there's nary a nut on the thing this year. But there was tons last year.
Yeah.
And I collected up a bunch. I have a bunch.
They often go in cycles, like the oaks especially, like they produce every other year.
I think the squirrels are desperate for walnuts, and I'm just constantly testing them. But when they do seem to get a hold of like a pawpaw, because the trees that I was using as my rootstock, we can just set these down. But yeah, the squirrels have been going crazy for those ones that are falling, but they'll just take a little taste.
Yeah.
So it's just perforated.
That's what the chipmunks do in my garden. They take one bite of a tomato, ruin the whole tomato.
Well, I'm glad you liked it. Thanks for
Yes.
sharing, and good luck with your orchard. It sounds pretty awesome. I'll have to come up and visit sometime.
Yeah, I'd love to show you my little pawpaw patch.
I'm quite partial to Roll and Donuts Cafe up in Belvedere.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's the place these days when it comes to donuts. So I'll have
Yeah.
to go get a dozen and come see you.
It's a hot spot. Yeah. Well, that'd be cool.
All right. Well, thank you very much.
All right. Thank you.